Hey, Pusinet, new little video on the self-reliance medicine project. On this one, I'm missing some stuff because I have to buy it, and so I'm waiting for it to come. Because I have your Americans are so lucky. It's a small border to cross over, but there's a lot of medical gear that I have to buy from a super person, and the other side, you go on the website, you order, you receive it. There's not even a package I order. I didn't even bother going to grab it because I would have to go to the custom and everything. Anyway, so I should move to the States. Anyway, the subject that we're going to talk today, so we'll make it more speak, but there will be a contest attached for this one. So when I get and I'll mention a little bit of contest, but I'll make a official announcement once I get the stuff that I'll be talking about. We'll be talking about pretty much two subjects quickly today, and basically will be triage and I was reading, so I received a new book, The Fundamental Disaster Management, and it's made from the Society of Critical Care Medicine, and it's pretty much more the ICU perspective, so intensive care unit perspective on disaster, but it is pretty, actually it's very interesting. Like the first night that I read that, I read like almost half of the book. It was very interesting. We're going to talk about a little bit about triage because it may happen, and as also we kind of mentioned earlier that we may have to do a triage. So there's kind of three levels of triage, and they mentioned about it here. So they mentioned there's kind of, and again, this is oriented towards disaster, but you'll understand, I'll read one definition, and you'll kind of understand why I'm using this in the kind of situation that we would have. Because in self-reliance medicine, you don't have enough resource. Just like if a big disaster would happen, you wouldn't have enough resource. Just like the medical system would struggle to trying to find its own resource. You, in your own little microclimate of not having access to the resource or not being able to get to the resource, you're still suffering from the same thing. So that's why it's kind of almost like a nice parallel to do. So there's kind of three type of triage to do in a disaster. So first of all, what is a triage? And basically triage is a French word, and it was started around his name was Baron Dominique Jean Larrey, and he was the Napoleon Imperial Guard chief surgeon. So that was in 1792. So basically, during the Napoleon War, what this guy would do is basically decide who would look very bad and who would look salvageable, and they could do something about it. If you couldn't do anything about it, anything to you, then it was a waste of stuff. And so basically, triage consists of two primary components: sorting and prioritizing patient, and managing scarce resource to optimize their use. So there's, like what I was saying, there's kind of three type of triage: the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary. So the primary is the one that you do like in the field. So in a disaster, it would be, for example, the first unit of emergency medical people that would get there, and they would start separating people in different categories. The second one would be at the hospital in emergency, where they would allow them certain beds, and some other people would go maybe more on the unit and not stay in emergency. The sick one would really stay in emergency and stuff. And then the third one would be more backstage, kind of, as that, if, for example, more when you're getting, and that's where that book talks a little bit more about, because it's more ICU oriented. The one that they talked about more is now you need to have you have like one ventilator, you have three patients. Which ventilator do you give to? whatever patient, because all of them, so they survived basically they survived the first triage, they survived the second triage, but now, you know, we did some stuff to them so that there's, you know, there's maybe a chance. So who do I give the stuff? And that's where we were talking in the last talk about ethics and palliative care. That's where things start to get. You're still going to do, you may have to do primary, but primary is more if you have multiple victims. So unless you have a situation when you have multiple victims in a survival situation or in a self-reliance situation, then there's very unlikely that you'll do those ones. But in self-reliance, even with one patient, you can still apply the concept of triage into your person that you have injured to like decide, do I allocate the resource to this person or not? And this is why I'm talking about triage, is to decide. So for example, when we were talking last time about the big burns, if this person have only 10% chance survival, am I gonna spend pretty much a lot of my analgesic, a lot of my supplies for dressings, a lot of my stuff for somebody that may not make it? And if I decide to not do that, what is the proper palliative care? Do I hold off food as well? Because supplies, that's another one. Food will be a supply as the other one. But so that's why the triage really helps. So for example, the one that is mostly used and kind of been showed off in studies is it's called the start one, and the jump start one is for pediatric. And so basically what it is a quick. So there's always about 4 categories in triage. So the first one is what we call minor. So basically people who are walking, their chance of survivals are very great and they don't really need your help. So they maybe have like a laceration on their arm or whatever, but as long as they can walk. So those are the green ones. The deceased are black, so they're totally the opposite of the green. So you have the green over here, and you have the black over here on the. So the black, you don't even allow your resources and stuff. Again, we're in a different mindset here. If somebody would be dead on the scene, and it's the only person, you'll have all the resource. Then you have all the resources that you can. Those people will have like full attention on us. And then it's in the middle one that it's a little bit harder, and it's called immediate and delayed. And immediate means that they need care like right away. So they're about to jump to the black. So from less to more severe, you get the green. It's a little bit the same thing as the light on the street. So green, yellow, and red. And black is you're dead. So here, for example, they check right away. You check your breathing. You check the cap refill, or if they have a pulse, and you check, for example, what's your mental status. And based on that, you decide right away what you're doing. So which category they go. In the pediatric, because pediatric breeds a little bit quicker, or they have different heart rates and stuff, they did another one called jump start, which is the same concept as start but jump start. So, but the one that we're going to talk about and I'm going to put on there is tertiary. And the reason that I'm putting tertiary is because it's more allocation of resource in hard situation like we're talking about. So I just wanted to mention quickly, and I'll put the link a little bit more on information and stuff on the triage tools that I recommend based on what I've been reading lately and stuff. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about, and again in this book, and actually if you have extra money, this book was pretty cool. It was about, I think it was $70, and I'll put the link where you can find it. But it is oriented towards ICU, but it actually talks very nicely of disaster. It's pretty like it has a lot of cool stuff to talk about. And just seeing here, I talked about that before, that burn little diagram that's in there. So because I didn't finish reading all the book yet and stuff. Anyway, so the next subject that I wanted to talk about is decon. And what is decon? And so decontamination of your person. And there's actually a whole chapters on it in there, and actually they even show there's a whole chapter on the subject, and they talk about the different protection that you need to have. So why are we talking about that here? Like, we don't need that stuff. Like, we don't go to work. Well, actually, we may need. So if you look, depending on what kind of disaster you're talking about, so if you're very dark or apocalyptic kind of stuff, and the incident that's going to make everything collapse will be a chemical warfare and everything, it's good to know about decon. I'm more on the medium side, so I don't really want to talk about that kind of stuff, but you know, like it's still important to know decon, because what's going to happen is, for example, if you have like something like Katrina hitting and everything, you may have like oils and organophosphate or any kind of product all around in your water or something like this. And so, for example, if you have like something a product that just went and somebody fell in the water for whatever reason and it has all this product on them, well, now you need to decontaminate them before you get them in your house, or else your house will be contaminated with the product that they have. So it's really important to understand about decon, and there is different level of it. And obviously I don't want to make this a course on decontamination, but I want to bring the concept that you kind of have to understand a few about it. And so basically a lot of time what you'll need, and over here actually they talk about the different masks, obviously for intubation and stuff, but if you have N95 or if you look at my video on isolation precautions and stuff, you'll see the difference. And so if you have those two kind of masks, you'll be able to do a lot of that stuff. It is, but having, like, for example, a improviser suit that could look a little bit like a decontamination suit. So for example, painting suit, or another, like for example, a rain, those old yellow rain suits. That could be maybe another things, but I would urge you to read a little bit more about it and get information on what kind of stuff to carry to decontaminate. And actually there's a great book that I'll put a link down that talks about a little bit about all those kind of products that can have, and what kind of precaution to have with them and stuff. There's also a course out there on decontamination, but usually they offer to healthcare professional, because that's the one, those are the ones that they would be doing it. But if you can find a good book, or like this one actually explain exactly like how to set up the stuff and everything and how to clean. It's a small stuff, but start understanding the concept. Basically the concept is that any product that's out there can enter a few different ways, so we can taste it, so go through our mouth, so go through our GI tract, we can inhalate it, it can go through our skin. If our skin breaks down, it can even go more through the skin, and can go mostly through our eyes as well. So usually those are the places that you want to block your stuff and everything. So this one was not so much about decon himself, but to bring to your attention that this is a subject that maybe it is important to read on, and I'll put a few reference and stuff so that you make your own reading. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call to write a message down below, and I'll try to answer your question as well. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I did get my basic training for hospital purpose and stuff, and plus reading those books. But I can help you. Hopefully that was helpful, and we'll talk to you soon.